And and you gotta be kidding me. Okay, we're in the green. Every time I try to go live, it messes up. We're in the green. Okay, it messes up every time. It's sitting green, and then right as I go live, it goes to red, meaning it has a poor connection. I'm not even kidding. Every time, it it, it just can't handle me. I'm sorry. Anyway, we're gonna be getting into the Cuomo sexual assault scandal. That's all of a sudden a big story when we knew about this like 5 months ago, and why it's all of a distraction from the bigger story of Andrew Cuomo. We also want to talk about a Daily Beast article that claims Tim Pool is like a far right YouTuber or whatnot, as well as social media, big tech coming after uh, the left is going after the new social media platform Gettr. But I want to cover a couple things real quick before we start. One thing is I did the part one of the national strategy for countering domestic terrorism like on Saturday. And I was gonna do a part two yesterday. I didn't. I didn't finish it because we had already gone through half of it, and I was reading through like the other half, and the second half was basically just the first half, just in more words. It's like when you're doing a paper for school and it has to have a specific amount of words. That's what that was like. Where they're just getting word count now. It's just the same things over and over again. If you want to read it, I'll link it right here. Give me a sec. If you want to go through the whole thing, here's the link. Uh, I'm just I realized that I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do a whole nother video on it when the second half is basically just the same thing as the first half. I will say though, I did make a mistake when I was covering this. When I was first covering this in the first stream in part one, I said the only people they see as terrorists was white supremacists. And I will say, reading through it again, I was a little wrong. They did sneak in people like Antifa there. They mentioned like anti-capitalist people and whatnot. So it's not all white supremacists, but the people they named, they said by name were white supremacists. Were the only domestic terrorists they said by name supremacists. They kind of snuck a couple other people in there, but just, very quickly like this snuck it in there. So I was wrong on that part. Are we good? Okay. It like cut out there for a second. I think we're good now. Yeah. I was just watching the stream for a second and I saw it was buffering. I was like, oh no, that's not. Now it's buffering again. What is going on? I think it might be something with YouTube because my streaming platform it's in the green. Yeah, we're doing fine. So I think there's something with YouTube. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about was the big political debate last night. From about Charlie Kirk. It was Vosh versus Charlie Kirk on Tim Pool's channel. And the main point of the topic, the topic they were debating was critical race theory. So I had faith in Charlie Kirk. I'm not a huge fan of Charlie Kirk. I don't really like the guy when I don't really like it when it comes to politics and whatnot. But I had faith that Charlie Kirk could could defeat Vosh in a debate about critical race theory in schools. I had faith in him because Charlie Kirk, his whole shtick is about how we need to win the culture war, and I kind of agree with him with that. My biggest problem with Charlie Kirk is that he doesn't really give a solution on how to win the culture war. He says we need to win the culture war, and then just talks about how all he really talks about is how good capitalism is. And don't get me wrong, it's good. It's good, but it's not really doing anything by just talking about how good it is. If you want to live, if you want people to, if you want us to, the conservatives to win the culture war, you need to give some examples on how we're going to win the culture war. But being that Charlie Kirk's whole shtick is winning the culture war, I thought, I think he's got this one in the bag. I think he could debate Vosh on critical race theory. I was wrong. Like, very. I don't know if you saw the debate. It was not. It wasn't even a debate. Like, it wasn't even entertaining. Like, they were screaming and yelling at each other. No, it wasn't even that. Like, that would have at least been entertaining to watch. I sat through almost 2 hours of Vosh, the libertarian socialist, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean, which doesn't really make sense, to tell the truth. Vosh, make his commie, talking points about he's not being taught in schools, blah blah blah. It's not a big deal. And they also talk about vaccine passports and vaccine passports. Mandatory vaccines. Mandatory vaccines aren't that bad. And what did Charlie Kirk do? That's like most of the time what Charlie Kirk did. He just sat there. And it looks like the stream stopped. I don't know. Okay, the stream. I honestly, I'm sorry about the stream. I honestly don't. I think it's something on YouTube's end because my streaming platform is going fine. We're not in the red. We've stayed in the green this whole time after I started streaming. So I keep seeing it buffering. It's doing it. It's doing it again. It's doing it again. It's got. I'm. Unless it's just me. It could just be me and my internet, but I'm pretty sure it's something with YouTube. I'm fairly certain this is a YouTube problem, not a me problem. Okay, I think we're back up. Okay, it keeps like cutting in and out on YouTube. My streaming platform says it's fine, but I keep seeing it buffering on YouTube. So, anyway, Charlie Kirk, if you watch the debate, Charlie Kirk did almost nothing. 90%, I would say like 85 to 90% of the debate was Vosh just spouting his commie rhetoric. And the couple times that Charlie Kirk actually talked, he ended up, one, just asking Vosh questions, giving Vosh more time to talk, or two, agreeing with Vosh. Like, it just, I'm not even kidding when I say it made me angry just watching it. Watching this debate, it honestly, I'm not even kidding, it made me angry. And this is like I said, this is one of my biggest problems with Charlie Kirk. And this debate kind of just showed it. Because all he did was spout talking points. That's all he did. And that's it's just, I'm not even kidding when I said it made me angry to watch. I turned it off for the last like 10 minutes of the debate. Because it wasn't, by that time I realized it just wasn't even a debate anymore. I watched it so you guys didn't have to. It was that bad. It was it was horrible. I'm not even kidding. I lost brain cells watching that. And it just the biggest thing, my biggest problem with it is that Charlie Kirk is seen as like some the figurehead for the conservative movement. And you may like him. Okay, I don't like the guy really when it comes to politics because all he does is spout talking points. He doesn't really give solutions. He says, we need to win the culture. Okay, how are we winning the culture? And he doesn't do anything. He can't really tell you. So yeah, that happened last night, and that's another reason why I didn't stream last night, because actually I thought the Vosh versus Charlie Kirk uh debate would have been worth my time, but it wasn't. And it looks like YouTube's buffering again. I'm sorry, I don't know what the problem is. I think it's something with YouTube. I'm almost certain, unless it's like I don't know if it's buffering for you guys. It keeps buffering for me. So unless there's something wrong with my internet, it must be something wrong with YouTube. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that for a couple minutes because I needed to talk about it at some point because it honestly made me angry just watching it. Like I said, it wasn't even like a fun, like it wasn't even an entertaining debate. It was infuriating. That's what it was. Anyway, let's get into Cuomo, Cuomo, the hot water. Cuomo, the hot mess Cuomo's in right now, a big mess. Um, if it's buffering for you guys, could you please tell me? Because it it keeps buffering for me, and I don't know what I have good internet connection where I am. My stream says it's going fine. Anyway, the whole night, so whatever. So Cuomo's been accused of sexually assaulting multiple women. And if you haven't really been paying attention, if you only pay attention to the mainstream media, CNN, whatnot, then you probably would only now start hearing about this. The thing is, one of the first accusations, I had the Wikipedia page up. They have a whole Wikipedia page on Andrew Cuomo's sexual harassment allegations. And they list off let me check. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, like 11. 11. So there's 9 named people, and then there's 2 unnamed who accused him. So in total, it's 11. One of them is an unnamed aide, and the other one is an anonymous complaint. So, I'm saying I'm not like pushing away those allegations. Just saying it's not as concrete as the people we know for certain. Like we know who are making these complaints. But one of the first complaints came from Lindsey Bolin. It says in December 2020, Lindsey Bolin, a former aide to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, and then a candidate for Manhattan Borough President, accused him in a series of tweets of sexual harassment and creating a toxic environment. The New York Times published a link to Bolin's lengthy essay in Medium, wherein she accused Cuomo of sexual harassment and described several years of uncomfortable interactions. She said she had played strip poker. Cuomo has denied these allegations. In an interview, Bolin said Cuomo's questions and comments about sexual issues made her conclude the governor's trying to sleep with me. So these accusations were coming out back in 2020. So it's not this new thing. We've known about this for a little while now. Go back in some of my older videos. Like, maybe not on this channel. You probably have to go on my main channel, which is linked in the description. But I talked about this a couple months ago. Like, we've known about this. And all of a sudden, it's big news. The media didn't want to cover it until now. And even well, they covered it a little bit, but not nearly as much as they're covering it now. Like, it might have been mentioned for a couple days, a couple times for a couple days, and it kind of just went away. That's what they were hoping for. It was just to go away, but it kind of stayed alive a little bit, and then it finally just kind of burst out again. And now they're kind of forced to cover it. And he was so, like I said, 9 named women have come out accusing him of sexual assault and creating a toxic work environment. And it's now only coming out. And most of the time, most of them were him, like, kissing them in, like, not non-consensually, like they didn't like it, they didn't want it. And I posted this video on my page last night. You can find this full video. I'm gonna play it right here. This video is also a video in itself on this YouTube page. This is Andrew Cuomo's defense for the accusations that people made against him for inappropriately kissing and touching them. Here you go. This is his video. His video. Here you go.
I do it with everyone, black and white, young and old, straight and LGBTQ, powerful people, friends, strangers, people who I meet on the street.
I do it to everyone, so it's okay. Like, I'm sorry, dude. What these accusations are not okay. Obviously, they're not. But why is the media suddenly covering these stories? Because they're covering up for the bigger story. Inappropriately touching women or inappropriately kissing women is a very small story compared to the big story that is the nursing home deaths that Andrew Cuomo caused. And again, we've known about this for a long time, just like the sexual assault claims. The nursing home deaths are not a new thing. But just like the sexual assault claims, the media is trying to cover it under the rug. They like, unless maybe Fox has covered this, but most mainstream media has not covered this almost at all. And he didn't even just send. I believe he put sick people with COVID in nursing homes, knowing that elderly people have one of the highest, the chances of dying from COVID, killing them. I mean, we knew that COVID is very bad for old people. Like, this wasn't unknown. We knew this. And he sent sick people into nursing homes anyway. But we got the liberals on Twitter and the mainstream media talking about how Tucker Carlson kills people with misinformation, when we have Andrew Cuomo actually killing people. Like, actually killing people here. And he didn't just kill those people. He then rewrote nursing home report to hide higher death toll, according to the New York Times. It says top aides to Governor Andrew Cuomo were alarmed. A report written by state health officials had just landed and included an account for how many nursing home residents in New York had died in the pandemic. The number, more than 9,000 by that point in June, was not public, and the governor's most senior aides wanted to keep it that way. They rewrote the report to take out, according to interviews, the documents reviewed by the New York Times. The extraordinary intervention, which came just as Mr. Cuomo was starting to write a book on his pandemic achievements, was the earliest act yet known in what critics have called a months-long effort by the governor and his aides to obscure the full scope of nursing home deaths. After the state's attorney general revealed earlier this year that thousands of nursing home residents have been undercounted, Mr. Cuomo finally released the complete data, saying it's bad. Trump might make the Democrats look bad, so Cuomo hid the numbers. We know this. This is not hidden. I talked about this. This report came out earlier this year. This article was published on March 4th of this year. We've known about this. It's not, secret information. Like I said, you can find a video probably earlier this year of me talking about this same thing. And it blows my mind that most people aren't talking about this. Instead, they're worried about sexual assault allegations. And that's the whole point. As I said, is the sexual assault allegations, are they good? No. Sexual assault is obviously bad. But the sexual small allegations are very small compared to knowingly killing over 9,000 old people and then hiding the numbers. Honestly, we don't care that Cuomo killed old people and then hid the numbers because he didn't want the Democrats and he didn't want him and the Democrats to look bad by Trump. He didn't want Trump making them look bad by uncovering it. So he hid it. And he's still governor. Now they are calling for him to resign only because of sexual assault allegations. That is the only reason they bring this up, is because they want you to forget the over 9,000 old people Cuomo killed. And then hid the numbers. Honestly. If we had to weigh out these stories, sexual assault allegations, 9,000 people dead, and then hit the numbers, and then hid them. Which one is worse? According to in the eyes of of the Democrats, sexual assault allegations are worse. 9,000 dead old people mean nothing to them because they don't care about life. You think the Democrats care about life? No, they don't. And honestly, this just proves it. The thing is, the Democrats don't even care about sexual assault either. They only use this for political gain. If you want examples, look at Kavanaugh. Look at Trump. They hammered them. Oh my gosh, they were accused of raping women. It wasn't true, but when they were accused of it, the media went after them, especially Kavanaugh. They went after them because they are horrible human beings. They were accused of rape. It wasn't even proven because it hasn't been proven. They weren't rapists. But they were accused, they were just accused of it, and the media went after them. You know why the left doesn't care about it? Because Joe Biden has been accused of sexual assault. I'm actually let me give me a sec. Tara Reid is a woman during the 2020 election accused Joe Biden of sexually assaulting her in 1993 in a Capitol Hill office. Now, is it true? I don't know. Should it be looked into? Yes. Was it looked into? No. Did the Democrats talk about it? No. They didn't care. They don't care about Tara Reid. You know why? Because she accused a Democrat. Another example is Jacob Blake, the guy who was accused of raping his girlfriend, I believe it was, and then resisting arrest by police, and then was grabbing a knife when being arrested by police, was going to grab a knife to fight the police, and then was shot like 7 times in the back. And the media praised him. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris visited him in the hospital because he was a hero. Because Black Lives Matter. They don't care about how he was accused of rape. They don't care about rape. They only use it for political gain, just like everything else. That's all the left does. I mean, look at what the Andrew Cuomo hid numbers because he was afraid he was going to look bad politically. And now all of a sudden, it's, well, Andrew Cuomo sexually assaulted people, and that's the bigger story. That's all we're going to... If we do talk about Andrew Cuomo, that's all we're going to talk about, is sexual assault. It's the sexual assault story. It may be real. Like, I'm not even saying it's not real. But the media is only pushing this story because they want you to forget the 9,000 people Andrew Cuomo killed and then hid the numbers because he didn't want to look bad. That's why they're pushing the story. It's disgusting and it's pathetic. I mean, it just blows my mind how people just don't care about these things. They just don't. It doesn't matter, you know. Anyway, we have a couple more stories to get into tonight. We had this Daily Beast article, which I just want to point out, the Daily Beast is not like they're a joke, to be honest. But they posted an article that it was so bad that I have to talk about it. They posted a smear piece on the YouTuber Tim Pool. So for those who don't know, Tim Pool is a online political commentator. I watch some of his stuff. I like his podcast where he brings on guests. It's mostly what I watch of his. He has a couple other channels where he talks about news stories, but he also, like I said, he also has a podcast he runs where he brings on a bunch of different people, talk about, and like last night he had Vosh and Charlie Kirk debating. But if you had to put Tim Pool on the political spectrum, Tim Pool is like one of the only people you can really put like in the middle. Like he's not even like really in the. He's like he's in the middle, but is leaning a little towards the left. Like he's not even right wing. Like, this guy's not right wing. Like he's an okay guy. I like his podcast. He's not right wing. He's like center of the road. He's standing in the center and is leaning a little towards the left. So and most people know, like, if you know Tim, if you've never known Tim Pool, if you watch his stuff, you know he's not like super right wing. He's not super left wing either. But uh, Daily Beast is basically saying that Tim Pool's pandering to the far right is basically a far right YouTuber. So we have the Daily Beast article here. It says how coward and phony Tim Pool became one of the biggest political YouTubers on the planet. A former darling of Washington of Occupy Wall Street, Tim Pool has racked up more than 1 billion views and millions in earning, while dangerously whitewashing the far right. And I'm gonna go through. I'm not even gonna go through all of this. If you want, I'll link it. I'll link this one as well because it is a long article. Here, let me link it. Yeah, that's the Daily Beast article. Yeah. So they say by mid afternoon of January 4th, it had been increasingly clear that a slew of far right actors were gearing up for violence at the Capitol. Tim Pool derided and dismissed the accurate reporting out of hand. Of all the ideological enemies, Pool, 35, rails against on YouTube for an audience of millions each day. Few stack up to mainstream press. In his mind, coverage of then President Donald Trump investigations and the mounting threats was yet another example of the media's depravity. He said, "What do you think they're going to do?" said Poole. "It's so stupid." 2 days later, a mob stormed the Capitol, whipped into a frenzy by nonsensical claims of a stolen election, and determined to put a stop to the constitutional transfer of power. To date, nearly 600 alleged rioters, a mishmash of Trump supporters, QAnon adherents, and members of militias and extremist groups have been arrested. Throughout the fall of 2020, the wildly successful YouTube pundit has spent countless hours hyping the blinkered legal strategies and half-baked fantasies about voter fraud, animating the online right. At the same time, in each video, Poole tried to separate himself from the hardcore conspiracy theorists. After all, he was just commenting on the news. Again, that's what he was doing. I was watching Tim Pool's, like I said, I usually watch Tim Pool's like podcast, which is usually like around like 8 o'clock at 8 p.m. Eastern, like every weekday night. He does it. He usually brings a guest on. It's entertaining to watch, uh, especially what see what guest he brings on, and he brings on a lot of good guests. And he just talks about the news. He talks about the news headlines that day with the people he brings on the show. So if the whole Trump challenging the election was in the news, he was going to cover it. But because he was covering it, it makes him like far right or something. Like it's stupidity. If you know who Tim Pool is, if you've ever watched Tim Pool, you know he's not far. I don't even know if he's a big Trump supporter. Like, I don't even think he's like a huge Trump supporter either. Like I said, he's like middle, like leaning to the left. What Poole kept secret from his younger, overwhelmingly male, decidedly right-wing leaning audience during this time is how he seemed to have a pretty good idea what might happen on January 6th. And they go on to say stuff about how he basically knew about January 6th was going to happen, which I honestly don't. This is the Daily Beast, so I honestly don't know if any of this is true. I'm trying, like, the Daily Beast is not like that, like, good at journalism. But yeah, if you like I said, if you want to read the rest of it, I was just covering it because I wanted to bring this up. Um, they're going after they're going after people like Tim Pool, claiming he is far right, We have this Daily Beast article, and I want to play a clip here. Here is a clip. I'll play a little bit of it. This is the guy who wrote the article. On he went on the Young Turks, which again, just about as credible as the Daily Beast. Um, here's like a 3 minute clip. I might stop a little for him, but this is like a 20-minute video. I clipped like the first 3 minutes of it. This gives you kind of the idea of what they're talking about here. Here's a clip of them of the Young Turks talking about this on talking with the writer of this article on their show. Here you go.
Joining us now is Robert Silverman. He is a freelance reporter and also a contributor to the Daily Beast. He recently published an article titled "How Coward and Phony Tim Pool Became One of the Biggest Political YouTubers on the Planet." Make sure you check out the piece. And Robert, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I think that this is an important story, not only to understand the rise of Tim Pool, but how certain people are really elevated on various platforms, including YouTube.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I agree. Look, Tim Pool has made a very good living being a political pundit on YouTube, and he has built, this little mini fiefdom of his. But the story isn't, I think, really entirely just about how Tim managed to flunk out of digital media and rise to this level of success. It's about how YouTube as a platform necessarily enables Tim Pool's kind of commentary. And by that, I mean commentary that is sensationalist, that is cranked out quickly, that doesn't necessarily have to be backed up by solid research or insight. And almost as a matter of logistics and as a matter of the function of how YouTube works, it necessarily thrives on conspiracy and ill-advised speculation. And that's the arena that Tim has managed to flourish in, as I said, after trying to make it in digital media and not succeeding, and certainly not to the level he has on YouTube.
Yeah, I want to jump in there. So Robert, I want to ask you about the long con. This reminds me a lot of Trump, but as a prelude to that question, I want to say, look, I gonna vary with you on the structure of YouTube a little bit, right? So it rewards things that certain communities like, right? And then it builds an algorithm loop to reinforce what that community likes. The problem is, I don't think not necessarily in the conspiracies, et cetera, as much as, and that's a big problem, and it's related to this. But I think the number one issue is it rewards passion and emotion, but doesn't necessarily reward facts. And so when you have a phenomenon like that, now connected to the con game here, eventually con men rise up, like Trump did in the Republican Party, and give people what they want. So Republican voters wanted more unfiltered racism, so Trump gave them unfiltered racism, whether it was against immigrants or other groups. And guys like Tim Pool, what you did in the article, which is really interesting, is track his career, filled with tons of research, and we'll put the link down below so people can check it out for themselves, where he starts out kind of nonpartisan, then pretends to be on the left, and then stops pretending to be on the left, but then as part of a right-wing grift, still pretends to be someone on the left, right?
So that was the clip, and I just wanted to cover this because that little clip that I played kind of sums up the whole reason for this article. It's a hit piece on Tim Pool. And I just want to talk about a couple of things real quick from that clip. I love how the Daily Beast and the Young Turks are talking about how you didn't talk about the facts and blah 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 blah. Dude, like I'm not even like the Young Turks and the Daily Beast are like the jokes of political commentary and journalism. I'm not like they're jokes. Like when it comes to these people, like when it comes to these things, the Daily Beast and the Young Turks are jokes when it comes to political commentary. I love how they're going after other people, telling them they need to use the facts. Shut up. Also, the Daily Beast guy. I don't like to go after people's appearances. Okay. But he honestly looked greasy. And if you're gonna be on the Young Turk, if you're gonna be on any news, at least try to look half decent. I mean, that's what I try to do. You know, I try to look at least a little, at least kind of decent when I come on here. I wear my jacket, and because it looks better than a short sleeve shirt. And I make sure, I at least try to make sure my hair is in control. I usually take a shower beforehand as well, so I look a little more, decent before I do this stuff. But yeah, he just he looked kind of greasy. I'm not even gonna lie, and it's like if you're also get a better mic too. Like I heard like his like background and stuff. It was bad. Anyway, the whole point they're going after Tim Pool is because Tim Pool is not woke. You may love him or hate him. Tim Pool is not woke. He leans a little to the left. He's just not woke. And he has a big channel and a big following. So they hate him because he's not going around talking about, how good Black Lives Matter is and all this stuff. Because the Young Turks and all these leftists, that's all you should be able to do. Because that's the facts. Those are the facts, and you should only say those. And if you say anything else than what I think are the facts, then you're just misinformation, and you should be shut down. It's bad. Okay? Like I said, if you've ever listened to Tim Pool, if you know who Tim Pool is, you know he's not like some big right-wing guy. The reason they're going after Tim Pool is because he doesn't go along with the mainstream. Like I said, he's not woke. He doesn't do even though he's not right-wing, he doesn't do what the left wants him to do. And that's why they hate him, and that's why they're smearing him. That's why it brings up the final story is that there's also a hit piece, not just on Tim Pool, but Politico made a hit piece on the new social media app called Gettr. It's a right-wing social media app. I'm on it. If you want to follow me, it's linked in the description. It's pretty good. But Politico put out a hit piece. And this is from the National Pulse. It says, when Gettr, the free speech, cancel-free social media platform, officially launched on July 4th, and immediately began to scale, it was certain that big tech and the mainstream media would get their knives out. When the attacks came, they were predictably coordinated, brazen, and transparently driven by an agenda of self-protection and animosity toward the Make America Great Again movement, and more specifically, anyone attached to Donald J. Trump. I don't think it was Donald Trump himself who made this social media app, but it was someone like close to Trump who made this social media app. Politico, the Washington D.C. political trade publication, launched a strike on the social media app Gettr, declaring that our platform is a safe haven for Islamic extremists, as their initial inflammatory headline blared. Now, I'm not like super into Gettr where I know like all these people and whatnot. I have like 23 followers or something like that. And sure, maybe there are anti-Islamic. It's a safe haven for Islamic extremists. I haven't really seen many Islamic extremists on Gettr. Maybe I'm wrong. I just haven't seen a lot of them. Okay. The story was peppered with references to former President Trump and Make America Great Again movement, leaving no doubt why Gettr was being targeted in the first place. What Politico left out and purposely obfuscated tells a different story. Gettr is fast approaching 2 million registered users, which is unprecedented growth for a social media startup. For comparison, consider that Twitter needed 24 months to record its first 1 million users, and Facebook took 10 months to reach that milestone. Among 2 million users, Politico cited a mere 250 individual accounts that allowed them to write a story that fit their narrative. Incredibly, they used the word inundated to describe the content this tiny number of accounts produced, even though regular users would most likely never encounter their posts. Again, I've never seen Islamic extremists on Gettr. So the impetus impetus for the story was the work of the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, a think tank that tracks online extremism. According to Politico, the writers of the article admit this organization supplied the research that was the basis of the Gettr hit piece. The whole reason they're going after in any social media platform that is that gets made, the left attacks Parlor, Gab, and now Gettr. Why? Because these are alternatives to the mainstream. Just like with Tim Pool, they hate these because they go against the mainstream. The mainstream is you should only be able to use the main social media platform should be the big social media platforms should be Facebook, Twitter, and in Google. They should only be controlled by those. Google controls. Well, they have Google itself, the search engine. They also control YouTube. Facebook controls Facebook. They also own. I believe they also own Instagram as well as Snapchat. And there's Twitter. Those are like the big social media platforms. Those three companies control almost all the big social media platforms. And that's how they want it to be. That's why they hate platforms like Parlor, like Gettr, like Gab. And they're attacking Gettr. They've attacked Gab for a little while. Talking about because it's free speech. You're allowed to say basically whatever you want on it. And they always talk about, there's anti-Semitism on Gab. Yeah, I don't agree with it, but it's like, okay, so it's not. I don't agree with it, but I honestly don't care because I would rather have a place where I can talk about whatever I want that has some anti-Semitism than a place similar to Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram where you're only allowed to talk about certain things. And most of those things are left-wing views. A lot of right-wing views are not allowed to be able to talk about. I can't talk about a lot of stuff I would love to talk about on YouTube. That's why I have Rumble. Again, they hate Rumble as well. You should check out my Rumble. It's linked in the description. A lot of the spicy stuff that I can't talk about on YouTube is on Rumble. You should go. I'm gonna have hopefully a Rumble video out Saturday. You should check it out. But they hate these alternatives because they're supposed to be in control of the narrative. They're supposed to be in control, and that's why they're making hit pieces on Tim Pool because Tim Pool is probably he's a pretty big YouTuber. I would say probably one of the biggest political YouTubers out there. There's a couple channels bigger than him, but he's a pretty big YouTuber. He has multiple channels. I think that all of them. I think all of his channels at least have like 1 million subscribers. So he's really big, and he's also on other social media platforms as well. I think he's on Rumble too. But anyway, I just want to point this out. That's why they're going after Gettr. That's why they go after Gab. That's why they go after Rumble. That's why they go after Parlor. That's why they go after people like Tim Pool. Because you are simply supposed to push the mainstream view. If you do not push that, they hate you. They want to shut you down. That's why The Atlantic made a hit piece on Mike Lindell. We covered it like last week. They're going after people who are big named, not even necessarily conservative, just not that go against. They just go against the mainstream. They're not woke. They see this BS is being pushed by the mainstream media, by the Democrat Party, including the cover up of Andrew Cuomo, and they talk about it, and that's why they're mad. That's why this That's why they go after. Like I said, that's why they go after Gettr. That's why they go after Tim Pool. Anyway, that's about it for I have for tonight. If you like the stream, just go down, click the like button, and hit the subscribe button as well. It's 100% free. You can also check. You're gonna want to check the link in the description below. I have my main channel there, which additional content will be returning to the main channel on September 7th, on the 1-year anniversary of the main channel. We'll return there. It's when our at least one of the strikes we have on that channel will expire, so we won't have to fear the channel getting terminated. So we'll be back on that channel on September 7th. Until then, we'll be on this channel. I also, like I said, I post Rumble. I post videos on Rumble a couple times a month. Mostly spicier stuff that won't be allowed on YouTube. So if you want to check that out, check out my Rumble. I also am on Trovo. I haven't been on there for a little while. I did like one stream. If you want to check out Trovo, it's also like a smaller alternative as well. Check that out. Links in the description. You'll also find me on Gab, Minds, Twitter, Instagram, and Gettr. All linked in the description below. Go check them out.